Before modern supercars took over, there were beasts from the past that pushed speed to the absolute limit. These 12 forgotten speed machines were shockingly fast for their time, yet history left them in the dust. From rare muscle monsters to obscure European rockets, these classics packed mind-blowing power, but never became household names. Get ready to discover the lost legends of speed. The 1969 Monteverdi High 450 SS is one of the rarest, most obscure, and yet most fascinating supercars ever built. A Swiss-built exotic with a Chrysler Hemi at its heart, it was a machine that seemed almost too wild to be real. An ultra-luxury European sports car powered by the same brutal big block that dominated American muscle car culture. With a claimed top speed of 176 mph and a sleek, futuristic design that could rival also the best from Ferrari and Lamborghini, the High should have been a game-changer. But instead, it became a forgotten relic, a ghost of an era when independent automakers still dared to dream big. The story of the High 450 SS begins with Peter Monteverdi, a Swiss engineer, race car driver, and businessman who had already made a name for himself by building exclusive high-performance Grand Tourers under the Monteverdi brand. His cars, such as the high-speed 375 series, were luxurious, hand-built machines powered by American V8s, Monteverdi's signature formula. He believed that European engineering combined with American muscle created the perfect Grand Touring car. But by the late 1960s, he wanted to go further. Instead of just building high-performance GT cars, Monteverdi set his sights on creating a true supercar, something that could stand alongside the Lamborghini Miura and Ferrari 365 GT before Daytona. Unlike Ferrari and Lamborghini, who relied on high-revving V12 engines, Monteverdi took a radically different approach. He chose the most infamous American performance engine of the time, Chrysler's legendary 426 cubic inch Hemi V8. Rated at 450 horsepower, the Hemi was a monster, an engine that had already conquered NASCAR, drag racing, and the street. It was one of the most powerful engines in the world, known for its immense torque and nearly unbreakable construction. But while the Hemi was perfect for muscle cars and race cars, nobody had ever tried to fit one into a European-style supercar before. Monteverdi saw an opportunity to create something truly unique, a Swiss-built exotic with brute force American power. To house this massive engine, Monteverdi needed an entirely new design. Unlike his previous front-engine GT cars, the High 450 SS used a mid-engine layout, similar to the Lamborghini Miura. This was a radical choice, as mid-engine cars were still relatively rare at the time. The chassis was a tubular steel space frame, designed to be lightweight but rigid enough to handle the Hemi's incredible power. The body was crafted from lightweight steel and aluminum, with styling inspired by contemporary Italian exotics. The result was a low-slung, aggressive supercar with sharp angles, pop-up headlights, and massive rear haunches. It looked every bit the part of a world-class supercar, with a stance that made it seem ready to devour the road. The interior was just as impressive. Monteverdi spared no expense, using high-quality materials and luxury touches rarely seen in supercars of the time. The cabin was wrapped in fine leather, with a full set of gauges and a driver-focused layout. Unlike many high-performance cars of the 1960s, which were often Spartan and uncomfortable, the High 450 SS was designed to offer both speed and luxury, making it a true Grand Touring supercar. In terms of performance, the numbers were staggering. The High 450S was claimed to accelerate from 0 to 60 mph in under 5 seconds, an astonishing feat for the time. Its top speed was listed at 176 mph, making it one of the fastest cars in the world. For comparison, the Lamborghini Miura, which was considered the king of supercars at the time, had a top speed of around 174 mph. The Ferrari Daytona, another heavyweight in the segment, topped out at 174 mph as well. The High, with its massive Hemi power and lightweight construction, had the potential to outrun both of them. But there was a problem. Despite its incredible power and speed, the High 450 SS was not an easy car to drive. The Hemi engine, while powerful, was extremely heavy, and its placement in the middle of the car made handling unpredictable. Unlike Ferrari and Lamborghini's finely tuned chassis and suspension systems, the High's setup was more of an experiment than a fully developed platform. The car was blisteringly fast in a straight line, but its handling characteristics were unpredictable, making it a handful at high speeds. Monteverdi had grand plans for the High. He envisioned building at least 49 units, making it an ultra-exclusive supercar for the elite. But reality proved much harsher. The cost of producing the High was astronomical, and the market for an exotic Swiss-American supercar was virtually non-existent. Competing against Ferrari and Lamborghini was already difficult, and convincing buyers to choose a brand-new, unproven supercar from a tiny Swiss company was nearly impossible. In the end, only 2 examples of the High 450 SS were ever built. The first was the prototype, which was finished in a striking purple paint scheme. The 1938 Alfa Romeo HC2900B was, without question, one of the most extraordinary automobiles of its time. A combination of stunning design, cutting-edge technology, and sheer mechanical brilliance, it was the equivalent of today's hypercars, an engineering marvel that stood far above anything else on the road. If the Bugatti Chiron represents the pinnacle of speed and luxury today, then the Alfa Romeo HC2900B was its spiritual ancestor in the late 1930s. It was more than just a fast car. It was an artistic masterpiece, a technological showcase, and a symbol of what Alfa Romeo was capable of in its golden era. At the heart of the HC2900B was a 2.9-liter supercharged inline-8 engine derived from Alfa Romeo's legendary Grand Prix race cars. This wasn't just an engine, it was a work of mechanical art. Equipped with twin Roots-type superchargers, it produced 180 horsepower, an astonishing figure for the 1930s. At a time when most cars struggled to reach even half that number, the Alfa Romeo was a true rocket ship, capable of hitting 140 mph in an era when airplanes barely flew much faster. In a world dominated by large, lumbering luxury sedans and underpowered coupes, the HC2900B was in a class of its own, built not just to go fast, but to dominate the road with an ease that no other car could match. The performance figures alone were breathtaking, but what truly set the HC2900B apart was its handling and refinement. Unlike many high-performance cars of the era, which were essentially stripped-down race cars converted for the road, the Alfa combined race-winning speed with grand touring comfort. It featured an advanced independent suspension system, something almost unheard of in the 1930s, using parallel trailing arms at the front and swing axles at the rear. This gave it a level of ride quality and control that no other road car could match. Where other high-performance machines of the time were brutish and difficult to handle at speed, the Alfa was smooth, composed, and supremely confident on any road. Then there was the design. Alfa Romeo had partnered with the greatest Italian coach builders of the time, including Carrozzeria Touring, to create some of the most breathtaking automotive designs ever seen. The long flowing fenders, the impossibly low-slung stance, the delicate yet aggressive grille. It was the embodiment of pre-war automotive beauty. Whether in coupe or roadster form, the HC2900B was one of the most elegant cars ever built, with proportions and curves that made it look like it was in motion even when standing still. Every detail was meticulously crafted, from the sculpted side vents to the hand-formed aluminum bodywork, making each example a true work of art. The HC2900B was not just a road car, it was also a race car at heart. While the standard versions were built as luxurious grand tourers, Alfa Romeo also produced the HC2900B Mille Miglia, a purpose-built competition variant. This version went on to dominate the 1938 Mille Miglia, the most grueling endurance race of its time. In a race that saw competitors struggle through nearly 1,000 miles of Italian roads, Alfa Romeo's HC2900B finished in first place, by a margin of over 12 minutes. That kind of dominance was unheard of and cemented the HC's reputation as the fastest and most capable road car of its time. Despite its breathtaking performance and beauty, the HC2900B remained an ultra-rare machine. Only around 32 were ever built, making it one of the most exclusive pre-war cars in existence. Each one was tailored to its owner's specifications, with unique coachwork and custom finishes, ensuring that no two cars were exactly alike. Today, they are among the most valuable collector cars in the world. When an XC2900B comes up for auction, it is an event. These cars routinely command prices well into the tens of millions of dollars, and for good reason. They are not just cars, they are rolling pieces of history, engineering, and design, representing the absolute pinnacle of pre-war automotive achievement. In many ways, the Alfa Romeo XC2900B was decades ahead of its time. It had the speed of a supercar, the comfort of a grand tourer, and the exclusivity of a bespoke luxury car, all wrapped in one of the most breathtaking designs ever created. It was the kind of car that legends are built around, and even today it remains one of the most revered automobiles ever to come out of Italy. If the Bugatti Chiron is the ultimate hypercar of today, then the XC2900B was its equivalent in the 1930s, an untouchable masterpiece, built for those who wanted the absolute best that money could buy. In the grand story of American performance cars, the 1955 Chrysler 300 holds a special place, arguably the first true muscle car, long before that term was even coined. It was a machine that blended luxury with raw power, setting the foundation for an entirely new kind of American automobile. At a time when most cars prioritized comfort over speed, Chrysler dared to do something different. They built a full-sized, high-horsepower coupe that could hold its own against the fastest cars in the world. It was an audacious move, and the result was nothing short of revolutionary. To understand just how groundbreaking the Chrysler 300 was, you have to consider the landscape of the mid-1950s. This was an era dominated by long, low, and heavy American cars designed for smooth highway cruising. Performance wasn't an afterthought, but it certainly wasn't the priority. The most powerful sedans and coupes of the time made around 180-200 horsepower, respectable numbers but nothing earth-shattering. Then came Chrysler, a company with deep roots in racing and engineering innovation, with something that shattered expectations. A luxury coupe packing an astonishing 300 horsepower, hence the name Chrysler 300. The heart of the three was its legendary 331 cubic inch firepower Hemi V8, an engine that had already built a fearsome reputation in racing. Chrysler engineers took this already impressive power plant and turned it into something truly special. They added a more aggressive camshaft, a freer flowing exhaust, and a dual 4-barrel Carter carburetor setup, technologies that were unheard of in most street cars of the time. The result was an engine that produced an even, authoritative power curve, delivering 300 horsepower at a time when most other V8s struggled to reach 200. This made the Chrysler 300 the most powerful production car in America. But Chrysler didn't stop at just making the car powerful. They knew that sheer horsepower meant nothing if the car couldn't put it to the pavement effectively. That's where the 300's chassis and suspension came in. Chrysler engineers stiffened the body, reinforced the frame, and carefully tuned the suspension to ensure stability at high speeds. The car sat lower than its Chrysler siblings, improving handling and reducing body roll, while heavy-duty shocks and springs kept it planted to the road. It may have been a luxury coupe, but it handled far better than anything its size had any right to. This was a car built for speed, and nowhere was that more apparent than at Daytona Beach, where the Chrysler 300 made history. In the famous Flying Mile run, the car hit an incredible 127.58 miles, making it the fastest production car in America. In an era before supercars, when speed records were typically reserved for European exotics and custom-built racers, this was a jaw-dropping achievement. But the 300 wasn't just a high-speed showpiece, it was a legitimate competitor on the track. It dominated the NASCAR Grand National Series in 1955, winning 37 races and securing the championship. At a time when American race cars were mostly stripped-down versions of full-size sedans, the Chrysler 300 proved that a powerful, well-engineered luxury coupe could not only compete, but win. Despite its incredible performance, the Chrysler 300 was never quite as famous as the muscle cars that followed in the 1960s. Part of that was its positioning. It wasn't a cheap, stripped-down hot rod aimed at young street racers. It was a high-end luxury coupe, a gentleman's muscle car before the term even existed. It cost nearly $4,100. making it one of the most expensive American cars of the time. That price tag meant that the 300 was exclusive, something only well-heeled buyers could afford, and that exclusivity kept it from becoming a mainstream performance icon. Yet, for those who knew, the Chrysler 300 was a game-changer. It set the blueprint for the muscle car movement that would take off a decade later. Take a big, powerful engine, put it in a stylish body, and make sure it handles well enough to stay planted at high speeds. The letter series Chrysler 300s that followed, beginning with the 300B in 1956 and continuing through the 1960s, further refined the formula, adding even more power and performance. By the time muscle cars like the Pontiac GTO and Dodge Charger arrived in the 1960s, Chrysler had already been doing it for years. But unlike the later muscle cars, the 1955 Chrysler 300 wasn't just about straight-line speed. It had a sense of refinement, a presence that made it feel special. It was fast, but it was also elegant. It had the power of a race car, but the sophistication of a luxury grand tourer. It was the kind of car that could blast down the highway at a 120 mph with ease, but it also had the poise to pull up to the most exclusive events in town without looking out of place. Today, the Chrysler 300 remains one of the most underappreciated performance cars in history. The 1971 ISO Grifo Can-Am was a rare breed, an automotive outlaw that refused to fit neatly into any one category. It was Italian in design, American in power, and a genuine supercar in performance, yet it never reached the same legendary status as its Ferrari and Lamborghini contemporaries. This was a car that had all the makings of an icon, but due to a combination of bad timing, limited production, and the eventual demise of its manufacturer, it became one of the greatest forgotten machines of its era. Today, those who know about the ISO Grifo Can-Am recognize it as one of the most spectacular and brutally powerful grand tourers of the early 1970s. ISO had already proven itself as a builder of high-performance luxury GT cars with the original Grifo, which debuted in 1965. It was the brainchild of Renzo Revolta, an Italian industrialist with a vision for creating flamboyant and stylish grand tourers that could rival the best of Europe. Unlike Ferrari and Maserati, ISO didn't build its own engines. Instead, it sourced them from General Motors, recognizing that American V8s were not only powerful, but also reliable and easy to maintain. The first Grifos were equipped with Chevrolet's small block 327 V8, which gave them excellent performance while keeping costs relatively low compared to their exotic Italian rivals. But as the muscle car wars escalated and horsepower numbers soared, ISO decided to take things to the next level. By 1970, the company set out to build the most powerful version of the Grifo yet, the Can-Am. This version was named after the famous Can-Am racing series, where massive V8-powered race cars dominated the tracks with sheer horsepower. To live up to the name, ISO equipped the new Grifo with Chevrolet's most fearsome big-block V8 at the time, the LS7 454 cubic-inch engine. With a factory rating of 435 horsepower and nearly 500 of torque, this was the same engine that powered some of the fastest American muscle cars, including the Corvette LS6. But in the Grifo, with its lightweight Italian chassis and aerodynamic bodywork, the performance was even more extreme. The Can-Am was brutally fast. It could go from 0 to 60 mph in just under 5 seconds, an astonishing feat for the early 1970s. Its top speed was around 175 mph, putting it in the same league as the Ferrari Daytona and Lamborghini Miura. This was a machine designed for high-speed cruising on the autostrada, a car that could devour long stretches of road effortlessly while delivering a thunderous V8 soundtrack that set it apart from the high-pitched wails of its European competitors. But raw speed wasn't the only thing that made the Grifo Can-Am special. It was also an impeccably designed car. Giotto Bizzarrini, the legendary engineer behind the Ferrari 250 GTO and Lamborghini's early V12 engines, had been instrumental in developing the Grifo's chassis. The Can-Am maintained the same balanced layout, with a front-engine, rear-wheel drive setup that provided excellent handling characteristics. The bodywork, designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro while he was at Bertone, was both elegant and aggressive, with a long hood, a low stance, and a wide planted presence. To accommodate the massive big block engine, the Can-Am featured a raised hood scoop, giving it an even more menacing look. Despite its incredible performance and striking design, the Grifo Can-Am was never a commercial success. Only about 24 were ever built, making it one of the rarest supercars of its time. Part of the problem was ISO's status as a small boutique manufacturer. While Ferrari and Lamborghini had global recognition in well-established dealer networks, ISO was a niche brand with limited resources. The Can-Am's American V8 also worked against it in some circles. While it made the car easier to maintain and repair, it lacked the exotic appeal of a handcrafted Italian engine. Buyers who were willing to spend Ferrari or Lamborghini money often wanted the full European experience, and the presence of a Chevrolet power plant under the hood, no matter how powerful, made the ISO feel less exclusive in their eyes. Another factor in the Can-Am's obscurity was its timing. The early 1970s marked the beginning of a difficult era for high-performance cars. The oil crisis of 1973 led to rising fuel prices and increasing government regulations, putting an end to the freewheeling horsepower wars of the previous decade. ISO itself was struggling financially, and by 1974, the company was forced to shut down. The Grifo Can-Am was one of its final creations, a swan song for a brand that had dared to challenge the biggest names in the industry. Today, the ISO Grifo Can-Am is a highly sought-after collector's item, but it remains largely unknown outside of hardcore automotive circles. Unlike the Ferrari Daytona or Lamborghini Miura, which have been celebrated as defining cars of their era, the Can-Am exists as a hidden gem, a car that only the most dedicated enthusiasts recognize. The 1949 Jaguar XK120 is not just an automobile, it is a cornerstone of automotive history, an iconic piece of machinery that symbolized a new era of engineering excellence and style. When Jaguar unveiled the XK120, it was not merely another model to fill a niche in the crowded post-war market. It was a triumph of ingenuity, a product of bold thinking and masterful craftsmanship that redefined what was possible for a production car. At a time when the world was still emerging from the shadow of World War II, the XK120 offered a glimpse of what the future could hold, showcasing the capabilities of British engineering in the most stunning and sophisticated way imaginable. When it debuted, the XK120 became an instant sensation, not just in Britain but worldwide. The car was a marvel of design and performance, a vehicle that combined the elegance and beauty of classic European styling with groundbreaking technical innovations. What set the XK120 apart from the competition, particularly in the post-war era, was its ability to break the 120 mph barrier, a feat that no other production car had achieved at the time. The name itself, XK120, was a testament to its ability to reach a top speed of 120 miles per hour, a figure that no other road car in the world could match when it was introduced. Under the sleek, aluminum-clad hood of the XK120 lay the heart of its performance, the newly developed 3.4-liter inline-six engine, which was the first of its kind to be used by Jaguar. This engine, dubbed the XK engine, would go on to become one of the most influential power plants in automotive history. With a modest output of 160 horsepower, it was more than enough to propel the XK120 to a top speed of 124 mph, making it the fastest production car in the world at the time. But the engine was not just about raw power, it was a masterpiece of engineering, designed for smoothness, reliability, and efficiency, with a level of refinement that had never been seen in a car of its class. What truly set the XK120 apart, however, was its design. Jaguar's chief engineer, William Haynes, worked tirelessly to create a car that was not only fast, but also aesthetically pleasing. The XK120's sleek, flowing lines and aerodynamic bodywork were ahead of their time. Its low-slung profile, long, elegant hood, and beautifully sculpted rear end made it one of the most attractive cars ever produced. Unlike many other cars of the era, the XK120 was not just a machine, it was a piece of art. The car's body, constructed from lightweight aluminum, was designed to reduce drag and allow for maximum speed. The beauty of the XK120 was not just in its looks, it was in its purpose-built design, engineered for both form and function. The success of the XK120 was also a testament to Jaguar's commitment to innovation. At a time when most car manufacturers were still grappling with the effects of the war and trying to get back on their feet, Jaguar was looking to the future. The XK120 was a car built to showcase the potential of British engineering, and Jaguar's marketing strategy reflected this. To prove the capabilities of the XK120, Jaguar took it on a world tour, setting multiple speed records along the way and proving that the car was not just a showpiece, but a serious performance machine. The car was tested on the road and on the track, and everywhere it went, it left a lasting impression. But the XK120 was more than just a symbol of speed. It was a triumph of luxury, craftsmanship, and design. Inside the cabin, Jaguar crafted an environment of pure refinement. The dashboard was simple and elegant, with classic gauges and a layout that prioritized ease of use. The leather upholstery and wood accents added to the luxurious feel, making the XK120 not only a car to drive, but one to experience. The balance of comfort and performance made the XK120 a car that could be driven all day without tiring, yet still provide an exhilarating experience when pushed to its limits. Despite its success, the XK120 had a relatively short production run. After just a few years, it was replaced by the XK140 in 1954, which featured improved performance and further refinements. However, even though the XK120 was soon succeeded by a more advanced model, its impact on the automotive world was immeasurable. The XK120 proved to the world that Jaguar was a manufacturer capable of creating world-class vehicles, and it set the stage for the brand's legendary models to come, including the XK150 and the iconic E-Type. Today, the 1949 Jaguar XK120 is considered one of the most desirable classic cars in the world. Its combination of groundbreaking performance, timeless design, and historical significance has made it a favorite among collectors and enthusiasts alike. Driving an XK120 today is an experience like no other. The sound of its engine, the feel of the leather seats, and the sensation of speed combine to offer a taste of automotive history that few other cars can provide. The 1967 Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada is one of those rare cars that seem almost too good to be true. A brilliant fusion of Italian style and American muscle that defied conventional automotive norms. This car is a manifestation of the genius of Giotto Bizzarrini, an Italian engineer who was responsible for some of the most iconic cars in history, including the Ferrari 250 GTO. While Ferrari became synonymous with racing, success, and luxury, Bizzarrini took a different path, creating a machine that could match the performance of its rivals, while also incorporating his unique design philosophy. At its core, the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada housed a 5.3-liter small-block V8 engine sourced from Chevrolet. This decision was a stroke of brilliance. While many Italian sports cars of the era favored exotic engines from brands like Ferrari and Maserati, Bizzarrini chose to marry the brute force of American engineering with his refined, lightweight Italian design. The result was a car with 365 horsepower, a substantial amount for the time, allowing the 5300 GT Strada to reach speeds in excess of 170 mph, which was nothing short of revolutionary for a road-going car in the 1960s. This unorthodox power plant was mated to a lightweight fiberglass body designed to be aerodynamic and as minimalistic as possible to ensure high-speed stability and reduced weight. The design was immediately striking with its long, aggressive nose, deeply sculpted sides, and elegant curves that spoke to Italian design sensibilities. It wasn't just a car that looked fast, it was a car that was fast. The sloping front end, with its near sports car stance, and the rear that tapered sharply, made it an eye-catching machine from every angle. The car's design also served a practical purpose, improving downforce at high speeds, which made the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada a formidable presence on both the road and the track. What makes the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada particularly special is its rarity. Only about 100 units were produced, making it one of the most exclusive cars of its time. This limited production run meant that the car was largely overshadowed by the more famous Italian marques such as Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Maserati. Despite the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada's exceptional performance, its name never quite achieved the same legendary status as those other brands. However, this exclusivity and the car's rarity are what make it a coveted collector's item today. Each car that survives represents a rare piece of automotive history, a time when manufacturers pushed the limits of design and engineering, yet without the fanfare and marketing machine that other exotic manufacturers enjoyed. In terms of performance, the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada was a masterclass in engineering. Its lightweight construction allowed for an agile and responsive driving experience, with a level of handling that was nothing short of extraordinary. The small block V8 engine, while borrowed from American muscle cars, was tuned to provide a thrilling driving experience, with an aggressive growl that could be heard for miles. The car's manual gearbox gave the driver a direct connection to the road, further enhancing the feeling of driving a true performance car. Whether accelerating down a straightaway or taking tight corners on a winding road, the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada remained planted and precise, offering a level of engagement that was unparalleled in its class. Inside, the car was stripped down to ensure that the focus was squarely on performance. While it was undoubtedly a high-end sports car, the Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada's interior wasn't about luxury, it was about function. The sparse cabin featured a minimalist dashboard with essential controls, all designed for a singular purpose: to offer the driver complete control over the car's remarkable capabilities. The seats, although not the plushest, were designed to keep the driver securely in place, allowing for a tight, connected feel during high-speed runs. The Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada's legacy has only grown over time. Although it wasn't an immediate commercial success, and its low production numbers meant it was often forgotten in favor of more famous cars of the era, it has since gained the respect of collectors and enthusiasts. Today, the 5300 GT Strada is regarded as one of the true hidden gems of the 1960s, a car that was ahead of its time in every way. The fact that it paired the raw power of an American V8 with the precision and beauty of Italian engineering was a revolutionary concept, one that would influence future supercars and performance vehicles. Driving a Bizzarrini 5300 GT Strada today is an experience that few modern cars can match. It's a machine that demands respect and attention, offering a visceral connection between driver and car that's rarely seen in contemporary vehicles. The 1957 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster is a magnificent piece of automotive history, often seen as the evolution and refinement of its iconic predecessor, the 300 SL Gullwing. While the Gullwing captured the world's imagination with its striking, upward-opening doors and revolutionary design, the Roadster version, though perhaps overshadowed by the Gullwing in public recognition, offered a more advanced, sophisticated driving experience. The Roadster was not simply a convertible version of the Gullwing, it was an entirely rethought performance machine, incorporating further refinements in aerodynamics, handling, and comfort. When Mercedes-Benz introduced the 300 SL Roadster in 1957, they were already established as pioneers in the world of luxury and performance automobiles. However, the Roadster marked a significant departure from the original 300 SL design. The most obvious change was the removal of the gullwing doors, replaced by traditional side-hinge doors. This gave the car the more conventional look, yet the changes weren't just superficial. With this change, Mercedes-Benz also modified the car's frame and chassis for better handling, making the Roadster even more refined in terms of both performance and luxury. At the heart of the 300 SL Roadster was the same 3.0-liter inline-six engine that powered the Gullwing. This fuel-injected engine produced a substantial 225 horsepower, a remarkable output for its time. While the power numbers may not seem as impressive by today's standards, the real performance highlight was how the car used that power. The 300 SL Roadster could reach a top speed of 161 mph, an astonishing feat for a car from the 1950s. This made it one of the fastest open-top cars of the era, and it held that distinction for quite some time. The engine was paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, offering full control to the driver, which was essential for getting the most out of the car's capabilities. But it wasn't just about speed. The Roadster was engineered to offer a completely balanced driving experience, with an emphasis on agility and stability. The frame was made of lightweight but durable materials, which helped keep the overall weight in check while maintaining the car's structural integrity at high speeds. The Roadster's suspension system was another key upgrade, designed to improve handling and give drivers a more responsive, enjoyable experience on both the open road and winding backcountry lanes. Additionally, the car's front and rear suspension were fully independent, providing a smooth, controlled ride no matter the road conditions. One of the standout features of the 300SL Roadster was its advanced braking system. Unlike most cars of the era, which still relied on drum brakes, the 300SL Roadster came equipped with disc brakes, a cutting-edge technology that gave the car far superior stopping power. This was an essential feature for a car that could reach speeds over 160 mph, as it ensured that the driver could decelerate with confidence, even at high speeds. Inside, the 300SL Roadster continued Mercedes-Benz's legacy of luxury and comfort. The cabin was an epitome of elegance, with rich leather upholstery and tasteful wood accents adorning the dashboard and door panels. The seats were designed for both comfort and support, ensuring that long journeys could be made in absolute luxury. The dashboard layout was simple and functional, with a focus on driver engagement. The car also featured a soft convertible top that could be lowered or raised with ease, allowing the driver to enjoy the full experience of open-air driving or remain sheltered from the elements as needed. The 300SL Roadster's design was a perfect blend of form and function. While the Gullwing's unique doors were its most striking feature, the Roadster's more traditional design allowed it to focus on smooth, flowing lines that emphasized both beauty and aerodynamic efficiency. The low-slung body, long hood, and short rear deck all contributed to its sporty and elegant presence on the road. The car's sculpted fenders and narrow, aggressive grille gave it a distinctive look that was unmistakably Mercedes-Benz, yet with an unmistakable touch of 1950s luxury. Despite all of these advancements, the 300SL Roadster was often overlooked in favor of its more flamboyant sibling, the Gullwing. The Gullwing was the car that captured the public's attention with its radical design and innovative doors. However, for those in the know, the 300SL Roadster was a far superior driving experience. It was faster, more stable, and offered a more refined overall package. It became the car of choice for serious enthusiasts who wanted both a high-performance machine and a luxurious, open-air driving experience. Today, the 1957 Mercedes-Benz 300SL Roadster is one of the most desirable classic cars in the world. Its status as a collector's item is undeniable, with only 1,888 examples produced. The 1970 Monteverdi High 375 SS, a Swiss-built supercar, stands as a fascinating and largely overlooked chapter in the history of high-performance automobiles. With the blend of Swiss engineering and raw American muscle, this car offered a unique proposition. The elegance and precision of European design paired with the brutal power of Chrysler's legendary 426 Hemi V8 engine. Despite being capable of going toe-to-toe with the best Ferraris and Lamborghinis of its time, the High 375 SS was never quite able to rise to the level of recognition and fame enjoyed by its Italian counterparts. The Monteverdi High 375 SS is the embodiment of a high-performance car that could have easily been one of the icons of the 1970s. Powered by the iconic Chrysler 426 Hemi V8 engine, a powerhouse producing 375 horsepower, the car was capable of reaching a top speed of 174 mph, putting it firmly in the league of exotic cars of the era. At that time, reaching such speeds was a remarkable feat for a road-going car, and the High 375 SS could more than hold its own against the likes of the Ferrari Daytona or the Lamborghini Miura. But what set this car apart was not only its raw speed, but the combination of luxury, design, and power that it offered in a single, high-performance package. The High 375 SS's body was sculpted with a level of attention to detail that made it stand out. It featured a low-slung, wide stance, offering an almost aggressive appearance that hinted at the raw power under the hood. The sleek and aerodynamic design wasn't just for show, though. Everything about the car's bodywork was created to ensure that it could handle the power of the Hemi and keep it firmly planted to the road at high speeds. The combination of sharp angles and smooth curves gave the car a unique and distinct look that made it stand out from the rest of the supercar crowd of the time. Its design was unmistakably Italian, yet there was something distinctly American about it. Perhaps it was the sheer presence of the 426 Hemi V8, a nod to the power of American muscle cars, which the Monteverdi was not afraid to embrace. Inside, the car was just as luxurious as it was powerful. The cockpit was focused entirely on the driving experience, with all the controls positioned within easy reach of the driver. The interior was outfitted with high-end materials, reflecting Monteverdi's intention to provide not just a car capable of blistering speed, but also one that would deliver a comfortable, refined experience. For its time, it was a supercar that struck the balance between performance and luxury, delivering an experience that was as much about the thrill of the drive as it was about enjoying the finer details of craftsmanship. The luxurious interior would have made long journeys in such a high-performance car seem far more bearable, if not downright comfortable. But despite all of this, the Monteverdi High 375 SS never captured the global spotlight like its Italian rivals. One of the biggest reasons for this was Monteverdi's limited production numbers. Only a handful of these cars were ever produced, making the High 375 SS incredibly rare. The brand itself, while respected for its high-quality engineering, was small and relatively unknown outside of a niche circle of car enthusiasts. Without the deep pockets for large-scale production and marketing that the big Italian manufacturers enjoyed, Monteverdi struggled to break into the elite supercar market. While Ferrari and Lamborghini enjoyed massive recognition and a long-standing reputation for producing the world's most exotic and powerful cars, Monteverdi's Swiss roots and relatively low profile meant that the High 375 SS simply never had the chance to achieve widespread recognition. It wasn't just the rarity or the brand recognition that worked against the High 375 SS. The competition was fierce. The supercar world was dominated by heavyweights like Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Porsche, all of which had established loyal fan bases, reputations for world-class performance, and deep pockets for marketing. While the Monteverdi High 375 SS was arguably on par with these brands in terms of raw performance, it had to compete in a marketplace that was already flooded with powerful, iconic cars. The limited production, combined with the low marketing effort, meant that the car slipped under the radar for most enthusiasts and collectors. Today, the Monteverdi High 375 SS is a rare gem for collectors, but its obscurity has only increased its mystique. It's one of those cars that car enthusiasts yearn to know more about, partly because of its rarity and partly because of its sheer uniqueness. For those who understand what it represents, the Monteverdi High 375 SS is a reminder that the supercar world could have looked very different if only certain brands had been able to break through to the mainstream. The 1968 Marcos GT 3.0 is one of those rare, almost forgotten British sports cars that never quite achieved the fame it deserved, despite being an incredibly capable performer for its time. Built by the Marcos Engineering Company, a small but renowned British automaker that specialized in lightweight sports cars, the GT 3.0 was a true embodiment of the company's ethos. Marcos, unlike many of its competitors, focused heavily on the use of advanced materials and innovative designs, making their cars incredibly agile, lightweight, and fast. The GT 3.0 perfectly captured this spirit, blending unique styling with high-performance engineering. What really set the Marcos GT 3.0 apart from other British sports cars of the era and what made it a standout in the world of lightweight performance cars was its innovative use of fiberglass for the bodywork. Marcos was ahead of its time in utilizing fiberglass, understanding its potential to significantly reduce the car's weight without compromising strength or durability. This use of fiberglass contributed to the GT 3.0's incredibly low weight, which in turn enhanced the car's handling and acceleration. The low aerodynamic body was not just about appearance. It was about making the car more efficient, faster, and more fun to drive. The lightweight body also gave the car a sleek, race-ready look that drew the eye, a perfect blend of form and function. Beneath the sleek fiberglass exterior, the Marcos GT 3.0 was powered by a 3.0L Ford Essex V6 engine, which was not the most exotic or powerful engine available at the time, but it was a fantastic match for this car's lightweight structure. With a modest 138 horsepower, the GT 3.0 may not seem like a powerhouse by modern standards, But in the context of the 1960s, and when paired with the car's low curb weight, the performance was more than impressive. The car could easily reach a top speed of 135 mph, which made it one of the faster sports cars of its time. Its acceleration and handling were just as remarkable, allowing it to outpace many of its contemporaries, including more well-known models from Jaguar and Aston Martin. The handling of the Marcos GT 3.0 was another highlight. It wasn't just a straight-line performer. It was a car designed to be driven on twisty, challenging roads. With its low center of gravity, stiff suspension, and lightweight construction, the car could navigate corners with precision and stability. Marcos had earned a reputation for building cars with exceptional handling, and the GT 3.0 was a prime example of this. Whether on a winding country road or a racetrack, the car felt planted and responsive, offering the driver a thrilling, connected experience. The agility and race-ready feel of the car made it a joy to drive, especially for those who appreciated the art of handling over sheer horsepower. Despite its impressive performance and innovative design, the Marcos GT 3.0 was never able to gain the kind of widespread recognition achieved by other British sports cars of the era, such as the Jaguar E-Type or the Aston Martin DB5. One major factor in this was Marcos's limited production numbers. Only a small number of GT 3.0 models were ever built, making it a rare sight on the road and a car that was difficult to find for most potential buyers. Additionally, Marcos, as a relatively small and independent manufacturer, didn't have the marketing power or brand recognition of its larger competitors. This meant that while the car had serious performance credentials, it often flew under the radar. Another contributing factor to its lack of fame was the somewhat unconventional engine choice. While the Ford Essex V6 was a reliable and capable engine, it didn't have the aesthetic appeal of the Jaguar or Ferrari engines that powered many of the top-tier British sports cars of the time. The Essex V6 also wasn't a powerhouse by the standards of the day, especially when compared to larger, more famous engines found in other cars. However, the GT 3.0's lightweight construction meant that the engine provided plenty of performance in the context of the car's design, and the overall driving experience was far more important than the engine badge on the front. The combination of a less celebrated engine and the car's low production numbers meant that it didn't capture the mainstream attention that other cars of the era did. Today, the Marcos GT 3.0 remains one of the most underrated and underappreciated British sports cars of the 1960s. Its rare combination of lightweight construction, responsive handling, and distinctive design make it a standout for enthusiasts who seek out hidden gems. In the world of classic cars, the GT 3.0 has become a true connoisseur's vehicle, an icon of performance and innovation for those in the know. The car's rarity only adds to its allure, as finding one in good condition is a challenge, and for those lucky enough to own one, the 1953 Cunningham C3 is one of those truly rare and intriguing American-built sports cars that seem to straddle two worlds: the refined elegance of European Grand Tourers and the raw power of American performance. Designed and built by Briggs Cunningham, a racing driver and engineer, the C3 was the epitome of what could have been an American Ferrari, combining European flair with the brute strength of Chrysler's legendary Hemi V8 engine. Briggs Cunningham was a man of vision, and he sought to create a sports car that could compete with the finest European automobiles of the day, particularly the likes of Ferrari and Maserati. With a background in motorsport, Cunningham's goal wasn't just to create a car for the streets. It was to build a machine capable of taking on the best in the world. The C3, which debuted in 1952, was the culmination of this ambition. It had sleek, European-inspired styling, with a long, flowing front end and short rear deck, reminiscent of Italian Grand Tourers of the era. The body was designed by the talented industrial designer, and it had a distinctly European aesthetic, which stood out in a world dominated by the often boxy designs of American cars. What truly set the Cunningham C3 apart, however, was the engine. Under the hood was Chrysler's mighty Hemi V8, an engine that had already proven itself as a powerhouse in various performance applications, but was rarely used in such a refined and elegant package. The 331 cubic inch Hemi engine delivered 180 horsepower, a significant amount of power for the time. It gave the C3 remarkable acceleration and top-end speed, making it one of the fastest American cars of the early 1950s. With a top speed approaching 150 mph, the Cunningham C3 could easily hold its own against the best Europe had to offer. In fact, with its American muscle and European design, it could be seen as an early precursor to the modern sports car. However, despite its performance credentials and striking design, the Cunningham C3 never gained the widespread recognition it deserved. One of the primary reasons for its obscurity was its incredibly limited production. Only 25 examples were built, making it an exceedingly rare car even when it was new. This scarcity, combined with the fact that Cunningham was a small-scale manufacturer without the resources or marketing power of major automakers, meant that the C3 remained a relatively obscure entry in the world of classic cars. The relatively small production numbers also meant that its appeal was largely limited to a niche group of enthusiasts who appreciated its rarity, craftsmanship, and performance. In addition to its rarity, the Cunningham C3 also faced stiff competition from more established and better-known sports cars of the era. European manufacturers like Ferrari and Jaguar were well established by the early 1950s, and their cars were the de facto performance benchmarks for the global automotive industry. In the United States, the C3's performance was overshadowed by the likes of Chevrolet and Ford, who were producing their own performance cars, albeit with a different focus. The C3's unique blend of European styling and American muscle was not enough to break through to the mainstream, and as a result, the car faded into relative obscurity. Another factor in the car's lack of widespread recognition was its relatively high price. At a time when many American cars were still priced relatively affordably, the Cunningham C3 was a luxury item that was out of reach for most consumers. The combination of its handcrafted nature, European styling, and high-performance engine meant that the C3 was aimed squarely at the high-end market, with buyers who could afford to spend a significant amount of money on a rare, bespoke sports car. This exclusivity, while appealing to a select few, meant that the car was not a mass-market success. The legacy of the Cunningham C3 is one of rarity and exclusivity. It is a car that has largely slipped through the cracks of automotive history, overshadowed by more famous and mass-produced performance cars. Yet for those in the know, it is a hidden gem, a car that embodies the spirit of innovation and performance that defines the golden age of American sports cars. The combination of European-inspired design and American engineering, with the iconic Hemi engine under the hood, makes the Cunningham C3 a fascinating piece of automotive history. While it may never have attained the fame of its European competitors, it remains a beloved and respected vehicle among collectors and enthusiasts. Today, the Cunningham C3 is a highly sought-after collector's item, prized for its rarity, craftsmanship, and the unique fusion of American and European influences. It stands as a testament to the vision of Briggs Cunningham, a man who sought to create a car that could hold its own against the finest automobiles in the world. The 1974 Tomaso Pantera GTS is an exhilarating, often overlooked piece of automotive history, blending Italian styling with American muscle to create a truly unique driving experience. This car stands as a testament to the unconventional yet brilliant thinking of Alejandro de Tomaso, an Argentine-born designer who had a vision of creating a high-performance sports car that would bring together the best of both worlds, European elegance and American power. The Pantera GTS was the ultimate expression of this philosophy, a wild, untamed beast that could go toe-to-toe with the most powerful sports cars of the era. At the heart of the Pantera GTS was the 351 cubic inch Ford Cleveland V8 engine, a powerful engine that had already gained fame in American muscle cars like the Mustang. With 350 horsepower on tap, it was more than enough to propel the Pantera GTS to thrilling speeds. In fact, with the right gearing and the right conditions, the car could reach an astonishing top speed of 180 mph, which was exceptional for a production car in the 1970s. This kind of performance was comparable to some of the finest supercars of the era, including the likes of Ferrari and Lamborghini, yet the Pantera GTS offered it at a fraction of the price. What made the Pantera GTS truly stand out, however, was its combination of blistering speed and exotic styling. Designed by the renowned Italian coach builder Chrysler, The Pantera had a sleek, angular design that was unmistakably Italian. The low-slung body, wide wheel arches, and aggressive stance gave it a menacing presence on the road, while the sharp lines and dramatic curves evoked the kind of excitement typically reserved for the most exotics of Italian supercars. It was a car that demanded attention, both for its striking looks and its impressive performance. Inside, the Pantera GTS was a mix of Italian flair and functional American muscle car influence. The cockpit was designed with a driver-focused philosophy, offering bucket seats, a simple yet effective dashboard, and an instrumentation layout that prioritized performance. While not as refined or luxurious as some European sports cars, the interior was functional and provided an engaging environment for those who sought to experience the full potential of the car. The Pantera GTS was a true driver's car, built for those who wanted raw power, speed, and the thrill of the open road. One of the most significant aspects of the Pantera GTS was its collaboration with Ford. Tomaso, seeking to create a performance car that could rival the established European brands, partnered with Ford to use the powerful Cleveland V8 engine. This was a significant move, as Ford's engine would provide the Pantera with the necessary power to compete with the likes of Ferrari, Lamborghini, and other exotic manufacturers. The engine not only gave the car exceptional straight-line speed, but also ensured that it had the kind of reliability that often eluded European competitors of the time. It was an unusual blend of European craftsmanship and American muscle that paid off in spades. However, despite its blistering performance and stunning looks, the Pantera GTS didn't quite achieve the level of fame it deserved. The primary reason for this was its somewhat limited production and the fact that it didn't fit neatly into any established category. It wasn't a pure American muscle car, as it was designed in Italy and built in small numbers, which meant it didn't benefit from the massive sales numbers or the name recognition of its American counterparts. On the other hand, it wasn't a full-fledged Italian exotic either, as it was powered by an American engine and lacked the refinement of a Ferrari or Lamborghini. Additionally, the Pantera GTS had a somewhat rocky relationship with the American market. While it was marketed and sold in the US through Ford dealerships, its exotic nature and limited availability made it a niche car, sought after by enthusiasts but largely ignored by the mainstream. Its raw performance and aggressive styling appealed to a small but dedicated group of buyers, but for many, it remained an enigmatic and somewhat misunderstood car. Despite its relative obscurity, the Pantera GTS has grown in appreciation over time. In the years since its production ended, the Pantera has become a sought-after collector's item, admired for its bold styling, powerful performance, and unique combination of American muscle and Italian design. Today, the car is celebrated for the way it pushed the boundaries of what was possible in the 1970s and for the sheer thrill it offered to those lucky enough to experience it. In many ways, the Pantera GTS was ahead of its time. While the world was just beginning to discover the power and potential of mid-engine sports cars, the Pantera had already embraced this layout, offering a nimble and responsive driving experience that few other cars of the era could match. Its blend of raw power, the 1935 Duesenberg SSJ, is one of the most extraordinary and perhaps least remembered icons in the history of American automotive engineering. In an era where the world was still recovering from the Great Depression, Duesenberg, a brand synonymous with luxury, innovation, and extreme performance, built a car that was years ahead of its time. The SSJ, a rare and refined version of the already impressive Duesenberg Model J, represented the pinnacle of American motoring, combining immense power, elegance, and engineering brilliance in one beautiful package. At the heart of the Duesenberg SSJ was its supercharged straight-8 engine, producing a staggering 400 horsepower, an incredible figure for the 1930s. To put that in perspective, most production cars at the time barely made over 100 horsepower, and even the fastest cars in the world couldn't touch the SSJ's raw performance. This remarkable engine allowed the SSJ to achieve speeds of up to 140 mph, an almost unimaginable feat for its era. For reference, 140 mph would remain an impressive top speed until the 1950s, and in 1930 it placed the SSJ in a class of its own. It was an American supercar, capable of outrunning most cars of its day, including luxury and sports cars from Europe. What made the Duesenberg SSJ even more extraordinary was not just its performance but its exclusivity. Only two of these incredible machines were ever made, one of which was owned by Hollywood legend Gary Cooper. The SSJ was a true celebrity car, and its owner's association with the Hollywood elite only served to amplify the car's status as a symbol of power, wealth, and sophistication. The sheer rarity of the SSJ today, only two surviving examples, adds to its mystique and allure, making it one of the most coveted and revered cars among collectors and automotive historians alike. In terms of design, the Duesenberg SSJ was everything one would expect from a marque synonymous with luxury and artistry. The sleek, elegant bodywork was crafted by the finest designers of the era, and every inch of the car oozed sophistication. The long, flowing lines and dramatic, open-wheel stance were a hallmark of Duesenberg's bespoke design philosophy, creating a car that was as beautiful as it was powerful. The interior of the SSJ was equally exquisite, with luxurious leather upholstery, finely crafted wood accents, and the finest materials available at the time. This wasn't just a car, it was an automotive work of art, a true testament to the craftsmanship of pre-war America. But despite its performance and style, the Duesenberg SSJ never received the widespread recognition it deserved. With only two cars built and few surviving examples, the SSJ was a vehicle that was mostly relegated to the shadows of history. It was a pre-war marvel overshadowed by the Second World War, which would drastically change the world of motoring and lead to the rise of more affordable and practical vehicles. The SSJ's exclusive nature meant that it was never mass-produced or widely known, and while it was appreciated by those in the know, those who could afford such a luxurious machine, it never achieved the same level of fame or recognition as some of its European counterparts, like the Bugatti Type 57 or the Mercedes-Benz 500K. The SSJ's rarity and the eventual decline of Duesenberg's fortunes, coupled with the rise of mass production during and after the war, meant that the Duesenberg name gradually faded from the public eye. Today, the SSJ remains one of the forgotten jewels of American automotive history, admired by collectors but largely unknown to the general public. Its blend of extraordinary performance, cutting-edge technology, and extreme rarity makes it a car that, had it been produced in greater numbers, would likely be celebrated as one of the greatest American cars of all time. Its story is a sad one in a sense, a car so advanced and so capable, yet overlooked by history due to the limited scope of its production. The SSJ, like many other automotive gems, was a product of its time, a time when America's wealth and industrial might had given birth to a small number of truly remarkable vehicles. Unfortunately, the Duesenberg SSJ's status as an extremely rare, high-end luxury car, more a symbol of exclusivity than mass-market appeal, meant it couldn't endure in the same way that later, mass-produced supercars did. But the SSJ remains one of the greatest speed machines of its time, a symbol of what American engineering could achieve before the world was engulfed in war. Today, the few surviving examples of the 1935 Duesenberg SSJ are among the most prized and valuable collector's items in the world. Their rarity and historical significance have turned them into treasures for automotive enthusiasts, and their place in history is firmly cemented as one of the greatest forgotten supercars.